Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the technology that gives the internet its memory. You know, how it knows who you are, what you like, and pretty much everywhere you've been online.
I mean, you know the feeling, right? You look up a new pair of hiking boots on one site, and then bam! Suddenly, ads for those exact same boots are chasing you all over the internet, on your social media, in news articles, everywhere. It's kinda spooky.
But here's the thing. It's not magic, and it's definitely not reading your mind. It's all just technology doing exactly what it was designed to do. So today, we're going to solve this mystery together. Let's start with the first clue.
Our whole investigation really starts with the most basic and probably most famous piece of the puzzle, a tiny and honestly a surprisingly simple little text file called a cookie.
So, what even is a cookie? It's way less complicated than it sounds, for real. It's just a small piece of data. Think of it like a digital name tag that a website server hands to your browser, just to help it recognize you when you come back.
The whole process is basically this little four-step dance. You show up, the site gives you a cookie, you leave for a bit, and when you come back, your browser shows that cookie and the website goes, "Oh hey, I remember you." It's kind of like the internet's version of a coach check ticket.
Okay, so that coat check ticket makes sense for how one single website remembers what's in your shopping cart. But what about those hiking boots that seem to follow you everywhere? Well, for that, you need accomplices. And this is where it gets interesting, because not all cookies are created equal.
So the really crucial difference here is who gives you the cookie. First-party cookies, they're usually pretty helpful. They come from the website you're actually on, and they remember stuff like your login or your language preference. But third-party cookies, that's a whole different story. They're put there by other companies, advertisers, data brokers, you name it. And their only job is to build a profile of your interests by watching you across the entire web.
Now, a lot of us are pretty savvy, and we block third-party cookies, so you might be thinking, problem solved, right? But what if there's another way to track you? One that doesn't even need cookies at all? This is where our investigation leads us to a much more elusive suspect.
We all do it. We switch over to incognito or private browsing, thinking it makes us invisible. And yeah, it does stop cookies in your browsing history from being saved on your computer, but it absolutely does not make you anonymous. Your browser itself is still giving away a ton of information to every website you visit. This much sneakier method is called digital fingerprinting. Instead of leaving a little file on your computer, a website just looks at all the unique technical details of your browser and your device. It's like a detective noticing 1,000 tiny details to build a profile of you that's often just as accurate as a cookie, maybe even more so.
And listen, taken by itself, your screen resolution or the list of fonts you have installed seems totally harmless, right? But it's the unique combination of all these little data points, we're talking dozens of them, that creates a fingerprint so specific it can identify your device out of millions of others. And just like that, you're trackable, even with no cookies.
Okay, so we've identified our main suspects. Cookies for basic memory and digital fingerprints for that persistent, sneaky tracking. Now, for the big finale of our mystery. Why is all this happening? And what does it actually mean for us, in the real world?
At the end of the day, it really all comes down to this massive trade-off. On one hand, all this data collection gives us a super convenient, personalized internet where sites remember us and show us stuff we might actually like. But on the flip side, it means our online lives are being meticulously documented, analyzed, and sold, creating these incredibly detailed profiles about us that we almost never get to see or control.
Look, there's no single right or wrong answer here about whether this trade-off is worth it. But just understanding how it all works, knowing the difference between a helpful cookie and a tracking fingerprint, that's the most powerful first step you can take to make informed choices about your own life online. So hopefully you've got a much clearer picture now of this invisible world that powers the modern web and what's really happening behind the screen. And that leaves us with just one final question to chew on. In a world that is being built to remember absolutely everything, what's the real value of being forgotten? Thanks for joining me on this one.